So, it was one of those classic summer nights, the kind you look forward to all year. I was at the state fair, just wandering around alone after a long week at work. The air was thick with the smell of fried dough and popcorn. You could hear carnival music everywhere. Kids laughing, screams from the roller coasters, and the occasional bark of someone trying to sell a game. I grabbed a corn dog from one of the stands, sat on a bench, and just let the noise wash over me. It just felt good to be out. The sun had already set, but the lights made the whole place glow. Neon signs buzzing, bulbs flickering. People were everywhere, and the energy was contagious. Then, I noticed him. I saw him just behind one of the vendor tents, standing still in the shadows. Tall, thin, pale-faced, wearing a worn jacket that looked out of place for a summer night. His eyes were dark, almost too dark, and I swear they didn't blink. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid. The fair is packed with strangers. Maybe he was just another person trying to find a way through the crowd. But then, I kept seeing him. At the ring toss booth, near the popcorn cart, by the photo booth. Wherever I went, he seemed to be there, just out of the corner of my eye, watching. I tried to focus on the game I was playing or the music playing overhead, but that feeling wouldn't go away. I started paying more attention, watching him too. He wasn't just lingering, he was following. I ducked into crowds, crossed the midway, tried to blend in with groups of people, but he stayed on the edges. I remember catching his gaze once, and it was like freezing cold water pouring over me. His eyes were fixed on me, unblinking, and I felt naked, like I was a bug under a magnifying glass. The normal sounds of the fair, music, chatter, laughter, started to feel distant, like I was underwater, alone with him. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, hoping for a text from a friend or something to distract me. But it was from an unknown number. No name, just a picture. I tapped to open it. And it was me. A photo taken from behind, near the Ferris wheel with the bright lights framing me in the dark. My heart hammered in my chest. How did he get that? I looked up, but the crowd suddenly seemed empty. My hands started shaking. I started moving faster, weaving through groups of people. I tried to find someone familiar, anyone I could call for help. But the man was always just behind, blending into the shadows like a ghost. My phone buzzed again. Another photo, this one closer. I can make out the details of my jacket, my hair. I wanted to scream, but my voice caught in my throat. The fair, once so lively, felt like a trap. Then I heard it, a low, quiet laugh behind me. I spun around. No one. But that feeling of eyes burning into my back stayed. I saw a security booth near the exit and sprinted over. The guard inside looked up as I burst in, out of breath. I showed him the messages, told him about the guy stalking me. He nodded and said they hadn't spotted the guy yet, but they'd keep an eye out. I stayed in that booth for the rest of the night, too scared to move. I watched the doors and the crowd, waiting for someone to come after me. When it finally closed, I gathered my things and headed for the exit. I glanced back once and saw him standing just beyond the gates in the shadows, watching. His eyes caught the last flicker of light like cold steel. I didn't stop running until I was back in my car, doors locked, heart pounding. I never went back to that fair alone, and I still get those messages. No number, no words, just photos. Reminders that the man behind the vendor tent never really left. It was one of those scorching summer afternoons where the sun feels like it's trying to melt the pavement. My friends and I were hanging out at the community pool, the usual weekend escape. I just bought a new swimsuit, something I'd been nervous about but ended up loving. It hugged my curves perfectly, and honestly, I was feeling confident for once. The water was sparkling, kids splashing around, the faint smell of sunscreen mixing with chlorine. I laid back on my towel, soaking up the sun, feeling the warmth on my skin, and loving the way my hips curved when I shifted. I didn't notice him at first. Then, I caught him out of the corner of my eye. A man sitting alone on the other side of the pool, maybe mid-30s, wearing a baseball cap, pulled low, dark sunglasses, but somehow his gaze was fixed on me. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining it. People look around, right? But then I noticed he was staring, not just a glance, but that kind of intense, studying stare that makes your skin crawl. I shifted on my towel, trying to look casual, but his eyes followed every movement. I could almost hear him whispering things under his breath, but I didn't want to turn and look. The next time I caught his gaze, I heard him mutter something. It was quiet, but I swear, I caught the words, nice hips, beautiful curves. My heart skipped. I felt exposed, like I was on display without my consent. I tried to ignore it, moved closer to my friends, dipped my feet in the pool, hoping it was just a weird coincidence. But then he started to follow my movements around the pool, shifting seats when I moved, lingering just out of easy sight. Every time I caught his eye, I felt that cold shiver of being watched too closely. Later that evening, as I dried off and got ready to leave, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I hesitated, but opened the message. There was a text. You look beautiful in the dark. I froze. I didn't reply. Then another one came. Your curves don't lie. I started feeling panicked. Who was this guy? How did he get my number? I checked my social media. No new messages. No friend requests. But the texts kept coming, creeping into my evening like a shadow. The next day, I went back to the pool with my friends, hoping he wouldn't be there. But he was. Same spot, same cold stare. This time, I made sure to stay close to people, kept my phone in hand, ready to call someone if I needed to. But he didn't make a move, just watched. It felt like a game. How long could he keep me under his gaze without me noticing? I hated it. That night, the text got worse, more specific, more unsettling. I see you in my dreams. You can't hide from me. I stopped sleeping. Every sound made me jump. I felt trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I didn't want to tell anyone, embarrassed that someone was watching me, commenting on me like I was just an object. But I knew I had to do something. The next time I went to the pool, I told a lifeguard about the man and the messages. They said they'd keep an eye out. I tried to act normal, but my eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. At one point, I looked up and caught him staring, his eyes cold and calculating. I gathered my things and left, feeling a mix of relief and fear. I haven't been back since, and sometimes late at night, my phone buzzes again. No number, just a message. Beautiful curves, don't hide forever. I had just gotten back home from college that summer. Broke, bored, and still trying to figure out what to do with myself until classes started again in the fall. So when I saw a babysitting gig posted in a local neighborhood group, I jumped on it. The dad's name was Eric. He called me directly, said he got my number from someone who spoke highly of me, though he never said who. He offered $30 an hour for one night. I said yes before I even heard the details. He chuckled and said, "Figured someone like you wouldn't be available long." I laughed it off. He didn't sound weird exactly, but there was something slick about the way he talked, like someone who was always selling something. The job was simple. Watch their 6-year-old Tyler from 6 p.m. to midnight while he and his wife went out for dinner. Easy. I'd done it a dozen times before. I even joked to my mom about it before I left. Told her I was finally getting paid to do nothing. Yeah, I wish that's what happened. They lived in this big 2-story house that backed right into the woods. Beautiful place. The kind you see in magazines, with too many rooms and glass doors that open to a deck you could throw a party on. I remember knocking on the door that evening and hearing low voices inside. A woman opened it. His wife, Marissa. She looked flustered, like she'd been crying or arguing. She barely said hi, just started rattling off instructions about bedtime, snacks, the usual. But she wouldn't look me in the eye. It felt weird. Then Eric stepped into the hallway. He was in his 40s, fit, tan, with this cocky kind of smile. His eyes went straight to my legs, then up to my chest, then finally to my face. Then he said, "Didn't expect the babysitter to be this cute," he said. No wonder the neighborhood moms were talking. I forced a smile. I was used to creepy little comments like that. But what threw me off was how Marissa just stood there, didn't say a word, didn't roll her eyes, didn't react. She just grabbed her purse and mumbled, "We'll be back by midnight." Then they were gone. Tyler was great. Sweet kid, kind of shy. We played with Legos for a bit, watched cartoons, and he passed out before 9. I cleaned up, put his blanket over him, then went back to the living room and sank into the couch. The house was big and quiet, with those dim yellow lamps casting cozy shadows. I took a selfie, posted it onto my story with the caption, "Easy Summer Cash." Hashtag babysitting life. Then I scrolled. About 30 minutes passed before I heard the garage door open. That was weird. I thought they weren't coming back until midnight. I glanced at my phone. It was barely 9:40. The door opened, and Eric stepped in, alone. He had a beer in his hand, and this strange smile, like he was amused to see me still there. "Hey," he said. "Change of plans. Marissa's spending the night at her sister's. Figured I'd come home early." I sat up straighter. "Oh, okay," I said. "Tyler's already asleep." He took a sip and said, "Cool. That gives us time to talk." Then he plopped himself down on the couch, right next to me. I shifted away slightly, wrapping my arms around myself. I was still wearing the same outfit I'd come in. Short denim cutoffs and a tank top. I hadn't expected anyone to be home. Eric looked me over again, slower this time. His eyes paused in places. And he said, "You always babysit just like that?" he said. He said it like a joke, but there was something in his voice. Low. Direct. I laughed awkwardly. I guess I didn't think it'd matter. He leaned closer. "It matters. Believe me. You're distracting. You know that." That's when I stood up, told him I needed to grab my phone from the kitchen. But it wasn't there. I searched the counter, then the table. No phone. My stomach dropped. Eric stayed seated, just watching me. "Looking for this?" he asked. He reached into his back pocket and pulled it out. My phone. I froze. "Why do you have that?" He shrugged. "Just making sure you weren't texting anyone inappropriate. You never know who young girls talk to these days." "Young girls?" He said it like I was some high schooler. I told him I needed to leave. Now. That's when he said, "Tyler's door is locked. He's fine. Don't worry about him." I looked down the hallway, heart pounding. You locked him in? I asked. Eric stood up slowly. I said, he's fine. I ran straight to Tyler's door, tried the knob, locked. I could hear him snoring softly inside. Thank God. Then the hallway lights flickered and went out. Darkness. Not total. Moonlight bled through the blinds, but enough that I couldn't see where Eric was. I pressed my back against the wall. Breath shallow. Then I heard him, his voice, low, coming from behind me. Don't be scared. I wouldn't hurt you. Not unless you want me to. I bolted into the bathroom and locked the door, heart in my throat. I had my Apple Watch. Thank God. And whispered to Siri, call 911. I crouched in the tub, holding my breath, listening. I could hear him pacing just outside the door. Knock, knock, knock. You in there? It's not fun if we don't talk. I stayed silent, didn't move. I don't know how long I was in there, maybe 10, 15 minutes. Then, silence. No footsteps, no voice, nothing. When I finally heard the sound of distant sirens, I started crying. The officers found him in the backyard, drunk. He told them I was dressed to tempt and that I was trying to seduce him. It made me sick to hear that. They arrested him, but he didn't stay in jail for long. I never babysat again, and I never wore those shorts again, either. Sometimes at night, when I hear a knock on my apartment door, I freeze, just for a second, because part of me still hears his voice whispering through that hallway. It's not fun if we don't talk. And I swear, he meant it. Have a true story you never told anyone? I want to hear it. Send your encounter to theofficialcertdread@gmail.com. And maybe next time, your nightmare will be told here.